In this video, I'm going to show you how to realign the stems on pistons, which is a common problem, especially with Bach, sometimes with other brands. And even though this trumpet does not have an alignment issue, I will explain how this works and why we do it so that you have an understanding of how to do it at home. You can see the finger button on this is fairly wide and it barely clears the inside of the top cap. But when I press it down, it works just fine. Now if it were pushed a little to the side, it could hit the edge of the top cap with the side of the finger button. When that happens, all you need to do is mark exactly where that's happening. So let's say we marked right here. I'll actually mark it. If it were hitting right here, then what I would do is mark it right there. And I'm going to mark the stem as well. So I've got two marks there, basically showing that it would be hitting right here. Now let's take it apart and we can shim it. So I open it up and we'll set the trumpet aside. Now you can see I have my marks. The reason that's important is because we want to know where the stem is leaning to one side. So if this is the side that's hitting, then that means this stem is actually canted a little bit that direction. Now it really doesn't happen on Harrelson trumpets very often. And if it does, it's typically because the threads were not machined in such a way that they fit really tight. Now you can see these fit pretty tight. When you screw them down, they lock in place and it's straight up and down, so it's concentric with the barrel of the piston. But if it were not, what you would do is turn it a quarter turn and then put a shim in there, which can usually be just a tiny piece of paper, sometimes two pieces of paper. It depends on how much it needs to move. Or you can use something like plastic, which will not deteriorate over time. And you put that in exactly where you have that mark, and when you screw it down, it's going to straighten it back up where it needs to be. Now it may or may not go perfectly straight. That just depends on how much of a shim it needs. So let's say we had done that, which we didn't have to here, so I didn't. Then you put it all back together and see if you have that mark hitting the top cap in the same place. If it's not hitting there anymore, you solve the problem. If it's hitting on the opposite side, then you put too much shim in and you need to reduce the size of the shim. Hopefully that helps with this issue. And this issue can happen, like I said, on all makes and models of instruments, anything that screws together. It's very uncommon on Harrelson trumpets, but we do let you know about this issue simply because we sell finger buttons that are a somewhat tight tolerance, so we can have a bigger inlay in there. And when you have those inlaid finger buttons and they hit your top cap, this is how to solve that problem.